Oh, it's so hard to talk about me being a stupid schmuck in my past without Diet Mountain Dew.
This is Halloween, this is Halloween, 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 Halloween.
Hey there, ladies and germs. My name is Lilith. Welcome back to my channel if you're new here. If you've been here before, then hey, it's nice to see you. Today we are doing something a little bit different. Today's video is a video about a specific kind of body modification that I happen to have, which is my stretched earlobes. A couple days ago, I just got my ears stretched up for the first time in like a year, and I figured I would do a video about the journey I had stretching my ears and the mistakes that I made and the injuries that I had and the span of time that I spent doing my stretching and how long I kept each stretch. I have pictures of a couple of my stretches, but not absolutely all of them. What ones I do have, I will put somewhere on the screen when I mention them. If you would like for me to do more body modification related videos, I do have my nose pierced and I have a cartilage piercing. I also happen to have 4 tattoos. I will be getting more tattoos and I'll be getting a septum piercing in about 2 months. If all goes well and my allergies leave me alone. So if you guys want me to do more videos about piercings or tattoos or aftercare for either one or anything like that, please tell me in the comments below and I'll make sure to do that. Before we get started on today's video, please remember to hit subscribe, leave a like if you end up liking this video, leave me a comment, and talk to me. I have links in the description below for my Instagram, my Twitter, my Musical.ly, and my Tumblr. I am on Instagram and Twitter the most often. It is where you can find me the most. Please follow my other social media so you can be kept up on the things going on during filming and editing and upcoming projects and ideas and collabs. Without further ado, let's get into the video. I, like most people before having stretched ears, did have my ears pierced for a really long time. I got my ears pierced regretfully with a piercing gun at Claire's in the mall when I was 13 years old. It was a decision that I made on a whim where I'm like, hey, all my friends have their ears pierced. I just want to kind of, bite the bullet and do it. The problem was no matter what jewelry I wore, even the kind that was hypoallergenic, it was always making me break out. My ears were always swollen. I could never sleep. They were always green or they were bright red, and it was just really disgusting and painful, and they always smelled, and so I was always taking them out. And then it would be really an unsafe situation where I would take a round-ended piercing and just shove them through the half-healed ears every 6 months for several years, and I would just keep ripping my ears open and closed. This ear especially had a lot of problems because when I got my ears pierced, the girl who was doing it obviously hadn't done it very much before, and even if she had, piercing guns are really dangerous. Don't ever use piercing guns. The gun got stuck on my ear as she had to rip it off manually, and this ear's always been my problem ear ever since then. So I could never ever keep my earrings in for very long, and I wanted to get my ears stretched when I was 16, 17 years old, and I was going through my gothy emo phase, and I thought they were really cool. And I told myself that if I could keep my ears pierced for X amount of months, I can't remember how many it was, that I would allow myself to stretch my ears. So I re-pierced my ears myself, again, in a very unsafe manner, and I had them in for, I want to say 2 or 3 months. And then I decided I'm gonna start stretching my ears. So I ordered a kit online, which I no longer have. I just gave it to my friend's boyfriend. And I ordered jojoba oil online. I ordered H2 Ocean, and I ordered a weird stretching balm. And I ordered all of this I wanna say surgical steel jewelry that went all the way from 16 gauge to 00 gauge. And I thought it would be perfect because in my head, my stopping point was anywhere from a 2 to a 0. My ears, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, even though this was 2 years ago, my ears were pierced at an 18 gauge. And the kit that I got, I didn't know that the 16 gauge did not actually come with jewelry. It just came with the taper, which just kind of looked like a really thin, really sharp, short needle. And the little paper that came with it said that you were supposed to leave it in for a month before you stretched up to a 14 gauge. I was not gonna leave a sharp needle on my ear for a month. I could stab myself if I rolled over on it, and I wasn't gonna do that. So I was not the smartest person in the world, and even though I had just put it in, I was like, oh, these slid in really easily. That must mean that I wasn't at an 18 gauge like I thought I was already at 16 gauge. I had a friend who told me that sometimes some ear piercings originally start out at 20 or 18 or 16 gauge depending on the gun or the needle. So February 27th, 2016 was the day I first started to stretch. When the 16 gauge needle went right in and nothing happened, I decided, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna go straight to a 14 gauge. I wish I had a picture of the 14 gauge jewelry. It wasn't even big enough to have a real hole. It was these really ugly earrings that kind of looked like the head of a nail, like a hammer nail, and they were really ugly, and it did not go well. And I was so stupid that in my head it wasn't really clicking, hey, trying to stretch this hurts. Why are you continuing? But I just like kept pushing and pushing and pushing because I was an idiot. And looking back, it like makes me cringe and I like feel sick knowing that I continued to push when clearly it just wasn't working. Eventually I got them through and my ears were really, really swollen and they hurt really bad, and I didn't understand why they hurt so much. If I already was at the 16, why wasn't the 14 working? So I wore these really ugly earrings for like a month, and then March of the same year, March 26th, yeah, I just checked I have a cheater paper. March 26th, but a month later, I decided, you know what, it's been a month. Even though my last stretch sucked, the paper said that like all of the small sizes, you only had to wait a month. I wish I still had this paper, but it had a list of how many months you should have that stretch gauge before you went to another one. And it said that you only had to have the 14 gauge for 1 month. So I waited like 1 month almost to the day, and then I decided, okay, I'm gonna go from a 14 to a 12 now. My issue when I put it in was that it didn't hurt like the last one did, and for some reason in my head that meant something was wrong. And I tried to pull it through the back to put the jewelry in, and the jewelry was really loose, and I didn't understand why. Well, then I finally decided I was actually going to look at the 14 gauge and the 12 gauge tapers side by side. And apparently, whoever the schmuck was that sent it to me labeled the bags wrong. All of the jewelry and the tapers came in little plastic bags with the number gauge written on them. And whoever this person was apparently mixed up the 14 and the 12 gauge jewelry. That was why my stretch from 16 to 14 hurt so much. Because it wasn't actually 16 to 14, it was 16 to 12. And so I hadn't just gone from 18 to 14, I had gone from 18 to 12. So I told myself that I was still gonna wait another month, even though clearly the taper was smaller than the one I had used the month before, and that fell through obviously because I was impatient and stupid, and I only had the 12 gauge jewelry in for about 2 days. And by 12 gauge jewelry, I mean the 14 gauge jewelry for like 2 days, and it was like small and loose, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, this clearly is not the 12 gauge jewelry, I'm gonna go straight to 10 gauge. I do believe I have a picture of me going to 10 gauge because I remember posting on Instagram, hey, well, these mixed up, here's my 10 gauge ear. I was actually starting to be able to see through the hole a little bit once I went to 10 gauge, and I was really, really stoked about that. So I went to 10 gauge on March 28th, 2 days after I realized that the 14 and the 12 were mixed up. I, if you know me, have a really, really bad problem with patience. I am very anxious, I am very moody, I'm just very impatient, and when I want something to happen, I want it to happen now. And I was really young and I was stupid, and I know this was only 2 years ago, and I'm like, oh my god, I was so young and so stupid. A lot changes in 2 years. Well, I was so impatient that a stretch I was supposed to have in my ears for a month, I only left in there for a week. So I had 10 gauge for exactly 7 days. And on April 3rd, I decided I want to have 8 gauge. So a process that should have taken like 4 to 5 months to get me from 18 gauge to 8 gauge should have probably taken like months, literally months. I did in less than 2 months. If I had actually gone from the 18 to the 16 and then the 16 to the 14 and so on and so forth, I should have taken like 5 months at minimum to get to this point. But between me being impatient and accidentally skipping one and skipping one on purpose at the beginning because I didn't want to stab my neck during, you know, the actual stretching process, it had probably taken me like a month and a half to get to an 8 gauge. This is not safe. Don't do what I do. Don't do what I did. Do what I say, not what I do. Be patient. Have patience. Wait the safe amount of time. You could have a blowout. You could have an infection. You could mess with your body. Don't do what I did. I was stupid and depressed and anxious, and I was trying really hard to change something in my life that I should have waited and taken the time to be patient. Do not rush your stretching process. Don't be the schmuck that I was and wait a week when you should be waiting a month. If you're at a bigger stretch and you're supposed to be waiting months, don't wait days. Like, wait how long you are supposed to wait, especially if you are doing it at home, because you need to be careful when doing it without a professional. My stretching from a 10 gauge to an 8 gauge after only a week and at home backfired on me immediately. Like a day or two later, I woke up, and I wish I had pictures of this. I believe it was my right ear. Yeah, in my right ear, my tunnel, my metal surgical steel tunnel was like, instead of the hole facing this way, it was like this. Like, it was like catty cornered, weird connected, and my ear had swollen completely over it. I could not remove it no matter how much stretching balm or jojoba oil I put on it. I couldn't get the swelling to come down no matter how much water or ice I put on it, and I panicked. I did not think any of this was going to happen to me because I told myself that I did all the necessary research. I had watched a lot of videos and read a lot of articles, and I bought all the products and blah, blah, blah. And I told myself that that meant that I was qualified to do this myself. I was not in any way, shape, or form qualified to do this myself. Oh, it's so hard to talk about me being a stupid schmuck in my past without Diet Mountain Dew. And I was like in a very deep, deep panic because I couldn't get it out. So my mother looked up piercers in the area, and one of the first people that she found was a piercer at Tattoo Charlie's here in Louisville. Tattoo Charlie's has been there forever. I cannot recommend Tattoo Charlie's hard enough. I've gotten my last few tattoos there, and I plan on getting a bunch more there. I get all my piercings done there now. They're just a really great and professional place to go. The people who work there know what they're doing. My piercer, who's probably one of the best people in the entire world, is a guy named Moy, and Moy saved my fucking life. My mom called up Moy because I was having a complete and utter meltdown and I couldn't get the jewelry out by myself. So he said to come up there and that he would get it out. Well, while she was on the phone with him, I was just like, screw it. And I like pushed, even though it hurt. And I like ripped my ear open because I was stupid and I was in a panic and I was sobbing and I just wanted it out. So I decided to go up to Moy anyway. And I went up there, had put the jewelry back in, and he was taking a look at my ears, and he was asking me about everything I had done when I was stretching, and he was asking me about the material of the stuff and if I was doing it myself. And Moy helped me realize that apparently the reason that I had had an issue with my ear swelling up around it was not just because I did it incredibly quickly, because if that was the case, this one might also have done it. But he was taking a look at the jewelry and a look at my ear, and he was saying that the jewelry I had put in my ear had a scratch on it. And that he was guessing that because my ear was a fresh wound, that because there was a scratch on it, whatever was in the jewelry got into my blood system and messed with my ear and caused my ear to swell due to an allergy. He was asking me if I always turned like green or brown whenever I put jewelry on, and if I had trouble wearing necklaces and rings and bracelets that weren't real. And I told him, yes, completely, I had that problem. And he said that I probably have an allergy to nickel, which is in most jewelry, even in surgical steel. That surgical steel is not meant to be in my body like that. And so whenever I go and I buy metal tunnels from Moy, he sells me titanium. This ring that I got at Pagan Pride Festival in Louisville last year is made of titanium. I only wear real stuff now because I can't otherwise. If you see me with a necklace that isn't titanium, 9 times out of 10, my neck is probably like brown in the back, like really bad, and my front's probably green. It's always like two-toned. So he took out those ones for me and he replaced them with, I'm pretty sure they were amethyst plugs, and he told me that they would be a little bit kinder on my ears, that they would just be a little bit more comfortable on me. And they were. I loved them. I love purple. I love amethyst especially. And I just thought that they looked really nice in my ears for the month that I had them, because I did only keep the 8 gauge for a month. 8 to 6 was nothing incredibly special. I don't have any pictures from 8 to 6, and I don't remember what jewelry was in 8 to 6. I want to say it was probably just like black stone or a regular like titanium tunnel. I can't really remember. But I did only keep that for a month and a half. I got it stretched up on May 1st and I went back July 17th. I do have a picture of 6 to 4. It was a relatively normal stretch. It kind of pinched, but it didn't hurt nearly as bad as other ones that I had done, especially ones at home. By this point, Moy is doing all of my stretching now. I don't stretch at home anymore because I don't trust myself and I don't have the tools to do so, and I just prefer that he do it. I kept my 6 to 4 for like 8.5 months. I don't remember why. I don't remember if it was because I thought that the 4 to 2 was gonna suck really bad, or if I just didn't have any money, or I just didn't feel like stretching up, but I kept my 4 gauge until the next year. March 4th of 2017 rolls around, and me and my cousin, who you saw in my Target vlog and who is actually coming up in a new video with me coming soon, went with me, and she decided that she was going to get her conch pierced and a cartilage piercing. We got the same cartilage piercing on the same ear in the same place, kind of like as like a best friend piercing thing. And when we got our cartilage piercings, I got my ears stretched up to a 2 gauge. I do have a picture of it. It's actually a piercing picture of both. And I kept this until a couple of days ago, so I had it for over a year and a half. Now, the reason that I kept this one was because that one sucked so bad. Like, I literally remember him stretching it and me going, like, it was really bad. For some reason, that one sucked so bad. And I didn't think it was going to hurt that bad because I had waited a fairly long amount of time to go and get that one done. But everybody's bodies react differently, and that's just how mine reacted. And I kept those in for about a month, because even though the stretch hurt really bad, they healed pretty easily. So it was then Easter of that same year that I went in and I bought a pair of silicone eyelets. Hopefully you can see those. I really like silicone because they're very squishy and they're very comfortable to sleep in. You don't want to put these in before your ears have completely healed. You just really want something of substance in there. Because silicone is flexible, you want something that isn't going to easily be smushed by pressure and by swelling. So you want something that's going to stay in its place so that your ear doesn't close. So you want to wait to wear silicone until after you're done healing. But like I said, they're really, really comfortable to sleep in because then your ear can freely move around and do what it needs to do. And for me, at least in my body, they did not hold as much heat as metal or a stone plug would. And I just really loved wearing silicone, especially because the eyelets are thinner than a regular tunnel would be. And so I feel like you can just see more of the hole and it's more open and there's, you know, thinner jewelry in it. I kept the size 2 for a year and a half, I think is the math on that, because I got that done on March 4th and then I stretched up to a 1 gauge on June 10th of the next year. I'm currently at a 1 gauge right now. I'll put a picture somewhere on the screen, but this is it in my ear. I decided to go to a 1 gauge partially because I was really scared of the 2 to 0, because everyone I've ever known who's gone from 2 to 0 said that it sucks. It was their absolute worst stretch, and Moy said that it would be less pain on me and less expensive for this type of jewelry because it's an in-between size. So I decided to go from a 2 gauge to a 1 gauge. Now, when he put the jewelry in my ears, it did not hurt at all, and he had lubed the crap out of it, so it wasn't like we hadn't prepared for it to hurt or anything. But they just slid right on in like he was putting in normal jewelry. I've been able to sleep on both of my sides just fine. I can sit here and mess with them and nothing hurts. The only thing I don't really like about this jewelry is like the back part of it is extremely long. And so when my ear just sits, my earlobe is like enfolded. And I feel like it just looks like my earlobe is turned, and I just don't like the way that it looks. That's why I like wearing other jewelry, because then my earlobes just like sit facing out like they're supposed to. He said that because these slid in with absolutely no problem, just for the sake of being careful, I'm still gonna wait a couple of months with this size in because I just don't want to take any chances. So I'm going to wait until the end of the summer, and then I'm going to go up to a 0 gauge and keep that for as long as he thinks that I should keep it. Along my journey of stretching my ears, I have learned several things. Number one, I have learned that I should not stretch at home. If stretching your ears at home yourself is your thing, you like to do it, it works for you, then do that. Don't let me be the one to tell you what to do with your body. But for me, this is what worked. I personally prefer to go to a professional because I do not have the patience to do it myself, because then I was stretching up early and I was pushing it when clearly I should have stopped. And I would prefer to put my trust in the hands of someone who is very trained. And Moy is trained and very smart, and he's very, very medical about it. And he can tell you about the healing process in like medical terms. He is very, very smart, and he is very, very good at his job. So I only go to him for my piercings now, and I feel like I very much trust him with stretching my ears. I have learned to be more diligent about cleaning my ears now. Used to, I was really, really bad about cleaning my piercings, and now I stay on top of it because I have had infection and I don't want to deal with that again. So I have a special friend to introduce to you. Neil Med Neil Cleanse Wound Wash Piercing Aftercare Fine Mist. You can get this in a big bottle. or a small bottle. This is not by any means sponsored, but if they want to sponsor me, they can. The big can has 6 fluid ounces in it, and the small can has 2.53 fluid ounces in it. I really love this stuff because I feel like it works better than the stuff I was using before. When I was cleaning my piercings, I was using H2 Ocean, and it just didn't really seem like it was doing anything. This stuff is very cooling, it doesn't hurt, and I feel like it actually gets it clean. Drug-free, preservative-free, no burning or stinging, sterile saline solution. This is my piercing spray cleaner of choice. Like I said, it is the least painful one I've ever used. It has no smell, and it makes it really, really easy to clean things because of the shape of the nozzle. Something else that I will suggest, whether you are stretching with a person in a place or you are stretching by yourself at home, is holy butter. Holy butter is like God's gift to people who stretch their ears, I think. It's like a really normal looking thing, and it lasts forever. It just looks like a normal balm. I don't know how much you can see of that. But it's really good. It's really moisturizing. It is one of the few things that I've used that never made my ears have like an after smell. They don't stink. There's nothing weird in it. I'm pretty sure this is vegan, but don't hold me to it. I think it's vegan. And it's just, I just really love the consistency. Whenever I take out my jewelry or my jewelry's feeling really like raw in my piercing, I just always put it on there, lube it up a little, put it back in, especially when it's in the early stages of cleaning. Then it makes it easier to slip your jewelry in and out, especially when it's in the middle of healing. So I highly suggest Holy Butter. It is manufactured by punkmedics.com, or you can probably find it in a lot of piercing shops. My piercing shop does sell that spray and this Holy Butter separate from any other piercing that you may get. You can go in and just buy it, kind of like you can go in and just buy the jewelry. I love stretching my ears, and I don't think I ever want to go back to having regular pierced ears again. I just love the way that it looks when someone has stretched ears. A lot of my friends have stretched ears, especially people I used to work with, and I just love it. My goal size is no longer a 2 or 0 like it used to be. Obviously, if I'm up at a 1, my short-term goal is I do want to end up at a 0 by end of summer, and then I want to go to 00 sometime next year. But my long-term goal as of right now is 5/16. Basically, any advice that I can give to you is, remember, don't clean your piercings so often that you're taking your jewelry in and out like 5 times a day, because that will hurt so bad. But make sure you are cleaning it on a regular basis because you want to help prevent infection. It is normal if the next day or two after you get your ears stretched, if there's a little bit of like blood on your pillow when you wake up, or if your ears pus. My ears, actually, after I get them stretched, they're not doing it this time because I think I was already out of 1 gauge from just having them so long and the weight on them. But my ears always pus for like a week after. That's just how my body deals with the trauma of being messed with, especially this ear. If you have stretched ears, you will always have a bad ear. The ear that is harder to stretch, the ear that hurts more when you stretch it, the ear that is harder to sleep on, the ear that will have more gunk even after it heals, the ear that will itch more, the ear that will swell more often, the ear that will be the reddest. Like, some people it has to do with when they got initially pierced, some people it's, you know, what side they sleep on, whatever. Everybody has a good ear and a bad ear. My good ear is my right ear, my bad ear is my left ear. Do not stretch without lubrication. That can tear your ear. Do not only clean with water or soap and water because you need an actual saline solution. Do not do what I did and skip sizes or stretch up too early, because you can rip open your ear and you can cause an infection. And if you get an infection bad enough, you can get sick. And if it gets really bad, you can get hospitalized. And you don't want to get sick or possibly die just because of a piercing. So don't do what I did. Don't be stupid. Don't skip. Don't stretch early. Don't wear jewelry that you're probably going to be allergic to. Be careful who you buy from online. Make sure you research the process and your products before you use anything or do anything to your body. I have heard that a size between like 4 gauge and 0 gauge is the point of no return, and that if you go any bigger than that, it's really hard to stretch back down without surgery. I don't really care. If I end up hating it one day, I'll just wear plugs. I just really don't care. It's not a big deal to me. I'm not someone who makes a huge deal out of it. It's something that I would rather do now and be happy about than wait until I'm 80 years old and be like, wow, I never did that thing that I really wanted to do, and I really think I would have loved it, and it would have been a time when I was young and crazy and could have gotten away with it. Do what you want, but be happy and safe about it. Be careful while also still being creative and expressive. Be clean. Don't let your ears go gross. Don't let them stink. Clean them when you're supposed to clean them. Don't be lazy and don't be impatient. Please click subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit like if you really like my body modification videos and want me to keep doing more. Share this video with people that you think need to hear this about stretched ears or might be looking to get their ears stretched or already have. Be good, be kind, be weird, smile at strangers, and clean your ears. I'll see you later. Bye.